You know, I don't know how good a cop TV show this was in terms of honestly depicting officers of the law, but it's certainly the best theme song of any cop show that ever existed. Barney Miller.
Certainly.
Somebody just mentioned, one of our cops during our cop panel, that Southland's a pretty good cop TV show if you want realistic cop. Is that right? Southland's good?
Yeah, I like it.
Welcome to the Armstrong and Getty Show.
It's our cop panel. We've got 2 guys in studio, 3 on the telephone, including my screw-up, Scott, who is on the line, who's been kind enough to join us, who we haven't gotten on yet. Scott, how are you?
Oh, great. Thank you for having me.
Hey, anything you've heard us talking about that you're just dying to jump in the discussion so far?
There's just tons of stuff that you guys have mentioned, but, for the most part, I would have to agree with everything else that everybody's saying, It's everything's been pretty spot on.
Well, let's start with you, since we accidentally had you on hold this whole time. Female cops, little dainty female cops. I mean, is this a good idea? Is it workable? Do you think, oh my God, if I get in a fight, I'm gonna get killed? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Wow, tough one right out of the gate. Thanks, appreciate that.
Welcome. Nobody knows who you are, brother.
Yeah, well, I'll put it to you this way. I'm a fairly decent-sized guy, and push comes to shove, if we have to go through a door and go get somebody that's a really, really bad person, who do you want behind you? Someone half your size, someone about your size.
Or twice my size, yeah.
Exactly. It really is an aggression thing.
Well, that probably happens with men. That probably happens with men and women, though, right? I mean,
absolutely. There's plenty of men that are doing this job that have no business doing this job as well.
Really? From a physical standpoint, you mean?
Both. Physical, mental, intelligence. I mean, it's just, we have a whole cross-section of people that, thank goodness for ADA exceptions, I guess, because that's how they got hired. But it's...
Wow.
Hello.
Yeah.
Mr. Z, Lady Cop Partners, what do you think?
Well, I would say for the most part, if they can handle their weight and if they're of the strength to do the job, no problem. But it's tiny.
How many are?
What percentage? A few, actually.
Quite a few?
I would say a majority are able to do the job, but the petite, small ones are the ones that I feel very uncomfortable with, because now I got a suspect who's probably my size or bigger that I got to deal with, and the chances of him taking her gun, and now I got 2 issues to deal with, it concerns me. I want somebody at least my size, if not bigger, helping me to do the job.
It's interesting in the year 2011, still size has as much to do with it apparently as it does.
Well, I've been hit by little guys and hit by bigger guys, and it hurts more when the big guys hit you. I mean, unless the little guys land right on the bridge of the nose or something.
Our guys in studio, anything to add to that conversation?
I'd say that it doesn't matter, and this is totally not the company line, because no, I'm not anonymous, but I've dealt with a lot of thin and little guys on the job as well who, you look at them and you just call for another car because you know that we're all going to get our butts whipped. So
really?
Might as well, you call 750 pounds of policeman per bad crook is what I like to do. And
wow.
So it doesn't matter.
Well, size matters. No joke intended.
Totally.
Yeah,
but
okay.
They bring it. The gals actually, look, they sometimes they're good fighters, sometimes they're not. I work with a gal who's I would take with me anywhere inside, and she knows who she is. I'm sure she's listening. And I've seen her in action. So, but they bring a different element to the job, including their wily ways with some of these guys. And
their wily ways.
That's. I'm glad you brought that up, because we've done a bunch of ride-alongs in all sorts of jurisdictions around the country. And one thing that just impressed the crap out of me that I didn't expect to see was how good the good cops were at relating to people and negotiating.
Diffusing.
Exactly. Al in the studio, your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, that's the job. I mean, every person you talk to, you have to relate to them. So
I'm crazy angry at my spouse, my neighbor, whatever, and I'm stomping around saying that guy deserves to have his head blown off, blah, blah, blah. How do you handle my anger?
Just try to calm it down.
Recognize it? Is that important?
Oh, yeah, it's there.
Tell
you got to recognize it.
Right.
I mean, you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
So,
what percentage of cops shouldn't be cops based on your experience? Throw out a number, anybody.
How about Mr. X on the phone?
Wow, that's a tough one. In my experience, probably 20, 25.
1 out of 5. Anybody
That's a little scary.
Anybody else got a number they'd like to throw out?
I'd say 25 is a good start, 25%.
No, it's 1 out of 4.
Yeah. For a variety of reasons. And usually the guys that get by who are actually criminals who actually make it on the force, they're gone fast because they'll do something to abuse their power and they're gone.
What do you mean they're criminals?
Well, you get guys that come in that all of a sudden they'll use their authority to, we've had a couple guys, go out and try to pick up a hooker or something like that. That's what I mean by criminal.
That's got to be very maddening.
Or you get a guy that's, all of a sudden they've. I went to a dope school with a guy who ended up starting to use dope, things like that, and it is maddening. Or prison guards bringing in dope into the prisons and things like that. So.
All right, anonymous cops, you're making an arrest with a guy. Guy gets mouthy, maybe even a little physical. You got all 100% justification bringing him down physically, but there's one among you who loses his cool, throws 2-3 extra licks with the old baton on there or something like that.
A little kick in the ribs.
What do you do?
That's for him to document. We're not going to lie about it. There's just way too much to lose. I mean, you're talking about losing your career, you're talking about losing your house, possibly your family.
So
if he saw something, then that justifies it. That's on him to justify it.
Okay. All right. But you're not probably going to put in your report and then Jim went nuts and beat the bejesus out of the guy, or how do you handle it?
Well, I wouldn't definitely use those words, but, we have to articulate that we're using force, because if we don't, it's going to be our rear. I mean, we take pictures of these people. They get interviewed by supervisors. They typically make complaints. So, we've got to ramp it up and be very thorough, because if we don't, that's just going to land us longer in court and possibly some disciplinary action, and we don't want that. We just want to go to work, do our job, go home.
We're selfish men. We haven't taken a phone call. You want to take a phone call?
Sure.
All right. This is a good one. Mike in Roseville. Mike,
no, there's a reason we get paid to do this, and most of those people are just listening.
True enough. Mike, what's your question, bud?
Okay, I'll make it really brief because I usually running out of time. Here's a scenario that just happened to me. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm heading to work. I have a 68 Mustang that has no heater in it, so I'm wearing my hoodie. I go around the corner on Greenback and Sunrise, and as I go around the corner, 60 feet away is a driveway, and an officer's pulling out. Pulls in behind me, follows me for about a mile, turns on his lights, and pulls me over. He gets out of the car and he tells me he radared me at 55 miles an hour as I was going down Sunrise. He says he was stopped. How often do officers lie, and how often is it that you can get out a radar ticket when an officer does lie? Because there's no way that officer got me at 55 on his handheld radar as I was going around the corner 60 feet away from it.
All right. Any thoughts on that scenario?
Who wants it? It's easy.
Well, I would say, number one, I don't lie, and number two, take it to court. Let a third-party judge decide.
Is it a good idea if you think, for whatever reason, whether they were lying or made a mistake or whatever, you think they're wrong to go to court? Is it worth it?
Yes.
What?
Yes, it definitely is?
Yeah. Yeah, take it to court. I mean, there's plenty of ways to resolve it.
I always figured that was a losing proposition. So.
No.
Well, but that's the place to address it, not on the street.
I shouldn't stand chest to chest and yell at you.
No, run.
Call
That's
you a
what I
liar?
do. I just floor it and I'm out of there.
Well, that's all right.
Now we're in a race. Now we're on TV.
Hang on. Back with much more. Going to talk to these guys about some of the ugly, ugly parts of humanity they see, the tragedy, and how you leave that behind, or do you?
No kidding.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, so more of that coming up, the Cop Panel here on the Armstrong and Getty Show.